Welcome back. The nominee to take over the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency would like Congress to rethink the way it oversees agency security. Jen Easterly says that would require reforming the Federal Information Security Modernization Act. Karen Evans is partner at KE&T Partners. She is former federal CIO and former CIO at the Department of Homeland Security. I teased you, Karen, before we went on the air, that as soon as I saw FISMA, I thought of you. Lots of people don't like FISMA. What is wrong with it as the government sits today, Karen?
A lot of what happens with FISMA is the unintended consequences. The idea is to really have people do risk management, get accountability, and then be able to then respond to an incident, have the plans, have everything in place. And what has really happened is, and I feel like I can actually, I can be as critical as I want to be about this, is because you produce a lot of paperwork. There are a lot of plans, a lot of things in place, but you really don't raise the bar as it relates to the actual security and risk management of the assets.
You can be critical, I think, because you're one of the few people, maybe the only person I can think of, that's been at both ends of this. As the eGov administrator, you had to look at all that paper to see what agencies were doing. And as the DHS CIO, you had to produce that paper to demonstrate what your organization was doing. What moves us from that model to a model that is proactive, that gives visibility to both the OMB level and the congressional level, but also achieves the vision that you just laid out, which is an actual risk management framework that results in more secure systems instead of higher piles of paper?
Well, and the challenge, and the reason why I say I'm also can be real critical is, as the administrator of eGov, one of the things that I had to do was really put a lot of policies and procedures in place for the original FISMA when that was issued, and then work with NIST to put the guidelines and the frameworks in place. I think the challenge is, no matter where we have a process and then we're asking for reports, people get very focused on compliance. The idea behind a lot of this is a big culture change. And I think when you hear and you listen to a lot of what was said at those confirmation hearings, and I think we're at that precipice, is the culture has to switch from that compliance. And there are several programs that are in place. And the one that I think is really critical to CISA, in conjunction with reform to FISMA, is going to be that continuous diagnostics and mitigation program, because that is supposed to give them that continuous feed, that continuous information about what is happening across the enterprise. And their enterprise is going to be the federal civilian agencies.
Is that the policy then that drives the culture? Because we talk all the time, and you and I have spoken 100 times probably, about how culture drives policy. Is this maybe what turns that around, the CDM concept turns that around, and finally we get policy driving culture, Karen?
Well, and that really is my hope. I mean, the concept when CDM was originally introduced, that idea, the constant diagnostics and mitigation, was to address the risk and the threat landscape. And if you look across our threat landscape now, it is continuous, just like the intent of that program. And the only way that's going to work is, I dare I say, use the word visibility, so that everyone, the CIO, the heads of the departments and agencies, all the way up to the White House, has visibility of what is happening on the network so that they can properly manage it. What Congress is also concerned about, when you look at some of the recent hearings, is what happens when the breach does occur, because we know they're going to occur. How do you then do that partnership with Congress from the oversight and give them the information that they need, versus, okay, here's just another report. I'm required to tell you there's an incident. Boom, we had an incident, versus really working with them and explaining to them from an oversight role what is happening within the federal agencies.
How should legislation be crafted by Congress to shift from this compliance exercise to a better risk management framework? They're going to require reporting of some sort, I imagine. They're going to require metrics of some sort. Is that even possible?
Well, and I think all those things are good, but that and again, what gets measured gets done, right? And so what like with the dashboards and when you can see that progress is happening, it's just not happening as fast as they would like. I'm going to pivot back to the CDM. They are talking about, they put the dashboard in place and, agencies hooking up to that dashboard. And so picking what are the right metrics, and the metrics are going to have to change. They can't stay static, and they're going to have to change based on, okay, there are foundational ones, and that's compliance, because I'm still thinking compliance at one level is still, dare I say, a good thing, because it does at least get people focused on trying to meet that measure. But what then Congress holds account, maybe one of the best things that Congress could do is shine a light when agencies do good things versus when, oh my gosh, there's another breach, or, why isn't CISA doing this, or what could VA do better, or what could DHS do better, versus like having, I know this is going to sound kind of crazy, but these are the things that are working. Do we need to institutionalize them in legislation? And let's have a hearing so that the public can see how that dialogue should work between Congress and the civilian agencies, the executive branch.
Karen Evans, thanks very much as always.
Thank you, Francis. I enjoyed it.